Chapter 4. "You're late," Mom called as Tyray opened the front door. He was relieved to hear the running faucet and the clatter of dishes in the sink. It meant his mother was in the kitchen and couldn't see his face. He darted straight to the bathroom. "You should have been here at 3:15. It's almost 4 o'clock. Where you been?" she asked. It was one of the 2 days each week she got home early from Cottonwood Court Nursing Home, where she worked as a medical assistant. Dad wouldn't be home for another hour. "I met with Mr. Mitchell. He wanted to talk about my English assignment," Tyray lied, locking the bathroom door and looking in the mirror. A thumb-sized scrape ran along his jaw. He knew he couldn't hide it from her, but it almost didn't matter. His mind was spinning with what happened and what he had just learned. Warren was in trouble. Tyray left the bathroom and walked to the kitchen. Mom's back was to him, and she was mumbling, half to him and half to herself. "So help me, Tyray. I hope you're not lying again. If we have to, we'll ground you until you're 21. Mom, how come you and Dad don't visit Warren no more?" She turned, her eyes fixed on his face, and her jaw dropped. A bowl slipped from her fingers and banged into the counter. "What happened to your face? Who did this to you, baby?" "It ain't no big thing. I was rushing to get home on time and slipped, that's all." His mother examined him closely, touching the raw skin on his cheek. He winced and pulled away from her. "You didn't answer me. How come you and Dad never go to Cliffside? You should see him," he said, the worry building in his chest. "Maybe I could come too." "Tyray, why are you bringing this up right now?" "Because it's been over a year since they took him away. We ain't heard from him in months. What if something happened?" "What are you talking about?" Mom asked, peering into his eyes. "Who have you been talking to?" "No one," Tyray answered quickly, trying to stay calm. He couldn't tell her he had spoken to Londell James. That would only make things worse. "I'm just saying, it's been a long time. It ain't right that you cut him off." "Cut him off? We never cut him off." "Yes, you did. You act like he don't even exist. Dad gets mad whenever I say his name," Tyray said. Mom took a deep breath and rubbed her temples. "There's a lot you don't know, Tyray." "What do you mean?" "Look, I'm not going to go into it all now. Your father said—" "I don't care what he said, Ma. He don't do nothing but yell and complain all the time. He don't even care what happens," Tyray huffed, feeling a wave of bitterness as he spoke. "No, Tyray, you got him all wrong. He cares, it's just he's—" Mom paused as if she was about to say something, but then changed her mind. "He doesn't always know how to show it." "Yeah, right." "Excuse me?" Mom's eyes flashed with anger. "I know you think you know everything right now, but you don't, okay? Your father and I fought hard for Warren, but he didn't want to listen. All he wanted to do was hang out with his boys or that girlfriend Chantel. Then one night he holds up a store," she exclaimed, shaking her head as she spoke. "I still can't believe it." Tyray couldn't either. He remembered how Warren changed during his junior year of high school, becoming secretive and irritable. Sometimes he stayed out all night, despite Dad's yelling. Once Dad threatened to kick him out if he didn't start listening. Warren promised he would, but a few days later the police came. Tyray had been in a deep sleep when the pounding started. Bang, bang, bang. The blows were so strong they knocked the pictures off the wall. Tyray heard them smash to the ground just outside his bedroom. Dad had rushed down the hall, but he was powerless to stop the officers from shouldering him aside. Tyray covered his eyes as piercing white lights flooded his room and then beamed down the hallway. Mom shrieked and Dad yelled. "Not my son! He didn't do nothing! You're making a mistake!" he had said over and over again. Tyray still remembered the muffled sounds of men's voices coming from his brother's room. Then a sickening thud shook the floor. He had rushed to the edge of the hallway to see the policeman yank Warren out in handcuffs. "Tell him you didn't do it, Warren," Dad pleaded. "Tell him the truth, boy." Warren had stumbled forward, his eyes wide with fear. He glanced back at them for an instant. "I'm sorry," was all he said before they forced him outside. Tyray felt a raw gush of anger whenever he remembered that night. It had never really gone away, a scar that wouldn't heal. He would feel it when he looked in Warren's empty room or noticed the scuff marks where the officer's shoes scraped the floor. He even felt it at Bluford sometimes, a rage that had fueled his attacks on others, including Darryl. "I know it hurts to hear this," Mom said, snapping him out of his thoughts. "But Warren brought this problem on himself." Tyray scratched at his broken wrist, feeling the anger swirl in him again. "But that don't mean you should just forget him," he blurted. No matter what Mom said, he still couldn't understand why they had given up on Warren. "No one forgot him," Mom yelled. "I think about him every day. I brought that boy into this world and raised him right so he could make a good life for himself. There's no way I could forget him." "Then visit him, Mom," Tyray said, feeling his voice shake. "And take me with you." Mom looked at Tyray for a minute, as if she were debating what to say. "Listen, Tyray, we never told you, but the last time we went to Cliffside, Warren got into an argument with your father. We started talking about responsibility, and he got upset and started cursing, telling us we don't understand nothing. He went back to his cell and told the guard he didn't want to see us again. Since then, he hasn't answered my letters. What are we supposed to do?" she asked, her voice quivering. "Go on, tell me, since you got all the answers." Tyray sucked his teeth as Mom's words slowly sank in. He hadn't gotten a letter from Warren in over 6 months. Maybe his brother was angry at them, but what did that have to do with him? And no matter what, it didn't change what Londell said. Warren could be in trouble, and no one would know it. "Maybe I can go see him myself," he suggested. He noticed his mother's face change for an instant, as if he had said something that made sense. But just as quickly, it changed back. "No, Tyray, this is a prison, not a park. They don't just let kids go walking around. You gotta be on their list and have proper ID. You're supposed to have an adult with you, too. Besides, I don't want you to go there. It's not a place I want you to see. Come on, Ma. If he don't want to see you, maybe he'll see me. At least then we'll know he's okay," he said, struggling to hide his worries. "Boy, I don't know what's gotten into you. Warren's been gone over a year, and you've never acted like this." Mom inspected his face again, as if she thought he had a fever. Tyray glanced at the family pictures hanging on the wall, one from Christmas when Tyray was 10, the other from a barbecue they had on Warren's 15th birthday. Warren had a corny smile because Tyray had teased him about his new girlfriend, Chantel, seconds before the photo was taken. Warren hated the picture, but Mom had insisted on hanging it. Looking at his brother, Tyray felt the sadness tugging at him again. He couldn't tell Mom everything that was on his mind, but he couldn't keep quiet either. "I miss him, Ma." The words almost caught in his throat. He could feel them in his bones. Mom sighed. Tyray knew she was watching him. He wished he could stop the thoughts racing in his head and tell her what really haunted him. "I'm scared. I think something bad happened to Warren. You should have seen the look on Londell's face." Instead, he scuffed his shoe against the cracked linoleum on the kitchen floor. "Tyray, I know you're upset, but it's going to be okay, you hear me?" she said. "What you need to do is worry about the things you can control, so you don't end up in the same place." "You don't even understand," Tyray wanted to say. Instead, he nodded, and his mother kept on talking, listing things he should be doing. Homework, getting involved in school activities, going to church. Her voice droned on, and he stopped listening. Finally, she hugged him. Her touch made him sadder, even more alone. But he didn't fight it. "What's this?" she asked when she released him a few seconds later. She was pointing to the words on his cast. T's promise. "Nothing. Just something some girl wrote on there." He remembered Lark and the debt he still owed her. "Some girl?" "It's nothing, Ma," he replied, covering the cast. Outside, he heard an engine rumble and knew Dad was home from work. There was no way he wanted to talk with him around. They would end up arguing like always. "What's your promise?" "Nothing, Ma. Don't worry about it." Tyray turned and went down the hall to his bedroom and closed the door. In his mind, Londell's voice kept echoing. "Warren can't even protect himself."